Well, if you're hearing that music, you must know that it's time to tell me something good. And I'm excited to have my friend, my client, and a guy who epitomizes the growth of a sales professional. My friend Todd Hudson, tell me something good.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on today. Really appreciate it. Tell you something good. I know that's your tagline, and I absolutely love it. So something good is just a transformation that I've been going through over the last probably year and a half. Just working with you, it's absolutely been amazing. So thank you for your leadership.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Well, that's flattering. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is there's so much new stuff going on. You and I started working about a year and a half ago when we were trying to get you introduced to people. And what you knew about the sales world was let's get in there and make a deal. And, now things have changed. So, I would like you to, before we even jump into that, sort of tell people like who you are, where you're from, a little bit of the backstory, the what's the Todd Hudson story, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of what you were doing and how you've changed and how you've seen the results.
Sure, sure. So, name is Todd Hudson. Company name is Hudson Planning Group, and Acrutiv is our brand from a consulting perspective. I've been on my own, Steve. I think it's hard to believe, but I've been on my own for almost 25 years now. I started my own practice in the living room of my house back in April of '96. So it's almost like going full circle with COVID, working from home again. And it's been quite the journey. And so I've really, from where we met, you were making some introductions to me, and unfortunately, I think the way I took those introductions was, hey, let's start doing business right away. Like, why aren't we doing business immediately? And so I had that hawk swooping down off of a wire, going for the kill, on the first moment that we met somebody. So that's sort of my transformation over the last 18 months.
It's actually funny to hear your perspective of it. So let the audience know what category you're in, what you specialize in. So I want people to know that should they like you, which everybody does, that they have a way to reach out to you to get some expert advice on whatever category you're in. So share it.
Sure. So thank you. So essentially, what I do is I'm a consultant in the healthcare space, the employee benefits space, and we really focus on finding people money. And I always go back to that Jerry Maguire movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. in the kitchen, telling Jerry, show me the money, because that's exactly what we do. As a consultant, we go into companies and we find them, generally speaking, about $1 million per 1,000 employees that are on their healthcare program. That's pretty
I've seen it
remarkable.
happen. I've seen it
Yeah.
happen, man. It's crazy, right?
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun having that conversation. Almost like if you think about like HGTV and the big reveal, where you started off with one kitchen and you finish off with a brand new kitchen. That's sort of what we do when we have that big reveal. Is here's where you were before. Here's all the enhancements that we've made. Because when we find these savings, we're actually enhancing the program, not taking away, while we're providing these types of savings, which is, like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting.
I love it. So the interesting perspective I bring to this conversation is we got introduced through your brother-in-law, which we kind of had a
Yes.
good conversation up front. Next thing you know, we hadn't even met yet. Boom, we start working together and I'm throwing stuff at you and you're like tackling it or swooping in, as you said. But the reality was I didn't really know you. And I would say the balance of the early part of our relationship, I only knew Todd in a very robotic way. Like there are so many things that make
Mm-hmm.
you, and that I've learned over the course of the time, especially during the pandemic. You're a traveler. You actually have a mobile home that you were, taking your family on. You played rugby, there's so many things that never came to the forefront. So I want you to share with people that, like, the more you and I got to know each other, the better our relationship has been. And so even though we were working together, it's a perfect example of, you don't know somebody until you know somebody, and that's where the real comfort level comes from.
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. And in fact, I think at one point you even said to me, like, "Who are you?" Because I had this like alter personality who wasn't really me. I was coming in this very robotic, "Hi, my name is Todd Hudson," and blah blah blah, and I'm just this business Todd, and that's so far from who I truly am. I'm very, kind of an outgoing person, and love to have fun, and like you said, like to travel with the family, and just traveling with that RV was a pretty amazing experience. I think you find out, one of two things is going to happen when you take an 18-day trip in an RV with your family. One is either you're going to kill each other, or two, you're going to grow closer. And I think we did a little bit of both. We practically almost killed each other, and we did grow closer. So that I think this is my relationship with you has really opened my eyes to the fact that I was so robotic, that I wasn't really being the true me, and it's almost like a liberation has happened, that I've kind of
I love that.
allowed myself to let my hair down and just to be myself, and with that, success is following. So it's been a fun transformation, and it's still more to go. I mean, I'm
Oh my
still a
God.
work in progress, and I think probably will be for the rest of my life.
So if you're open to it, another friend of mine, a business associate, Jack Chatham, was on this show a couple of weeks ago. He was somebody I introduced you to early on. And just recently, you and he re-engaged. And I think it's the best sales story I've heard, forget about this year, maybe ever, because the epiphany you had about how you showed up to him then and how you show up now. And so if you're comfortable after that big setup, would you mind sharing that story?
Sure. So, and actually, I met with Jack earlier today. So we actually reconnected today. So
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
story is, Steve made an introduction to Jack and many other folks, and my mind's eye, old school, always be selling before you even get to know somebody. I kind of came off as this guy who was really, "You've got to give me your business today. Why aren't you giving me your business already?" And so that's a big turnoff for many people. And you and I were talking about that transformation a few weeks ago, and somehow Jack's name came up, and I said, "You know what? I need to apologize to Jack. I came at him hot and heavy, as well as many others, and I sent him just a very sincere note saying, 'Hey, look, I'd like to start over. I'd like to reintroduce myself as at a second time and just pretend that we never met each other before.'" And so we had a very genuine conversation this morning, and that was exciting to do. So I think I'm going to do that with some other folks as well.
One of the things I preach, which I preach a lot, is genuine and authentic works. That's about as genuine and authentic as it gets, because you opened yourself up and he received it really well. I mean, he was like, wow, who in this age, does that? So I applaud you for it. I think it shows me that your heart is in the right place. And the one thing about sales that people have forgotten is that we're all human.
Yeah.
Nobody, when you land on someone's plate, they know that you want to ultimately try and do business, but how you earn that. And so I was hoping, because you've really invested yourself in the new tools, I was hoping you could share from your perspective what tools you've been using, where you've had success. What's your 10,000 foot view of what's going on in the sales world? Because I think a lot of people will align with your journey.
Well, there's a couple things, and first and foremost, you've preached this all the time, and that is, you've got to give to get. And I've also will even add to that. You have to make deposits before you can make withdrawals. So I've really, even as I'm meeting with somebody brand new, my mind's eye wants to trigger back to that make business right today. Let's do business today. And I literally will write down on a piece of paper and just say, just make a friend. Just make a friend. And so when I'm doing my research on, let's say, for example, I'm meeting you for the first time today and I'm doing my research on you, I tend to make two columns. One is business and one's personal. As much, and I really want to focus almost exclusively on that personal side. And that's where it's been a lot of fun, is just kind of learning about people and what makes them tick and trying to make those deposits. And I have to tell you, probably the most fun I've had on any of the virtual coffees that I've visited with people is when I was actually under an old school mindset trying to sell something and realized I couldn't sell anything to this person, and then found out that I could really help them. And it was interesting, as we were
Isn't that great?
talking, I said to this gentleman, I said, I bet you, the five
Hello.
phone call coming in. Sorry about that. So
That's
I
okay.
bet you in your top five of people that you're looking to connect with, I bet you this company is in your top 5 or 10. And he said, absolutely, they're probably number 2 or number 3. And I said, well, how about I reach out to the CFO? He's a neighbor of mine. I'm going to send him a text, and I'm also going to send him an email to his personal assistant. How would you like that? And he absolutely loved it. And so they're at
Stunned.
a
I mean, who
second
does
meeting stage
that?
at this point. And yeah, and I got
I
goosebumps
mean,
as we were
right.
having a conversation. It was so much fun. And
So
so anyway.
watching your transformation has been unbelievable for me, to such a degree that, like, you were a client before. Now you're more of a friend. Like, I've learned more about you. So, like, in particular, can you share the rugby story, man? So, because I remember we were doing a daily huddle and something about rugby, and you go, I used to play rugby, and you showed me a picture, and I was like, what? Like, how was
Well,
that? How did I not know that?
well, you played the All Blacks and their
All
haka,
right.
and I love that. Yeah, I played rugby in college for a few years, and then played as a young adult for a few years as well. And something about rugby, I will tell you, I'm a smaller guy, so I was what's known as a back. And oddly enough, I would say I probably wasn't. I know I wasn't the best back on our team, but I scored the most tries or touchdowns, if you will, on our team. And the only reason why I did is because I out hustled everybody. Wherever the ball went, I went. And so if you follow the ball in rugby, if you have the stamina to follow the ball in rugby, your other teammates are going to make moves and they're going to zig and zag and they're going to create opportunities. And if you're there waiting for the ball to catch it, you can just catch the ball and run in for a touchdown or a try, and that matters. So I love it. My son's starting to play right now, and I couldn't
Wow.
be happier to see him out
So,
there on
so
the rugby
people were
pitch. Yeah.
shocked. People were shocked that I didn't know anything about the All Blacks. I mean, as learned as I think I am. So for me, it was an eye-opening thing. But the story you just told, if you took the fact that it was rugby out and talked about business, it's exactly the same parameters, the same process in business. You got to out hustle everybody. You got to bring it every single day with consistency. The idea that you have more tries or whatever you called it. So I'm curious, what in your mind did you take away from this learning of rugby and all the things that you've done in your social and recreational life? How have you brought that to business?
Well, I think it's just a big collaboration of a number of different things. Number one is I feel that regardless of your age, you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to grow. And so I've taken this opportunity with COVID, and instead of sitting on the sidelines and thinking, well, I guess there goes 2020, I'm not going to be able to get a new business, or just woe is me mentality, I've actually gone out and done stuff, and worked on myself. So what's between these 2 ears is what's the most important thing. So I've worked on growing myself from a sales perspective. I have probably 4 or 5 different mentors, and so we have to continue to, as Stephen Covey says, sharpen our saw. We cannot just sit back and just think business is going to come to us. And probably the coolest thing we've done during this whole COVID thing is my neighbor and I built a treehouse. And let me tell you something. Neither one
so
of us
glad you went
have
there, man.
any, and I mean any construction skills. I no construction skills whatsoever. We literally YouTube videoed how to do things. Yesterday, I finally put the steps on, and guess what? I YouTube videoed how to put steps on a deck, and that's basically what you do. And so that was a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, and I've grown, and you just got to continue that with business. I mean, you just can't sit back and think business is going to come to you. You have to go out and get it and out hustle your opponent. 100%.
I love that. I have 2 final questions. One of them
Sure.
is it safe enough for people to go in the treehouse?
It is.
You know,
It is.
like, are you letting your kids?
Yes.
And then
actually, I have to tell you, one of the most. What's really exciting is this weekend, my oldest, who just turned 16, had a little small birthday party in the yard. It was all COVID. Everybody was outside wearing masks and so forth, but all the boys were able to go into the treehouse and just be boys. It was awesome. So that was that. I was getting butterflies as I was watching them have a good time out there. So it is definitely safe.
Awesome. So in our final minute here, if somebody has questions about their employee benefits or something like that, give people why they should call and reach out to Todd Hudson.
Well, thank you for asking that question, Steve. So really, the reason why I think you would want to reach out to me is just to find out. We do provide a free analysis just to give you a feel of whether or not we have the ability to back those numbers up that I mentioned earlier. The generally the $1 million worth of savings per 1,000 employees. It sometimes it's greater than that, but it gives gives folks the opportunity, if you're a CFO and you're looking to fine tune your budget, lower your budget, find free cash flow, we're here to help do so.
And you promise to be the new Todd, the real Todd,
yes,
and not the sales Todd,
yes.
Right?
yes, and I promise to actually be myself and not be, probably what just came off like the last 20 seconds is my pitch of the old Todd, if you will.
I'm super excited for you. I'm super excited for your upcoming podcast, which people should stay tuned for. I think that there's a total, you actually shared a lot of really good stuff. And I want to thank you for your friendship and thank you for your time today. You were a fabulous guest.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Have a great day. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.